The last time Jamie was seen was at her home in Gastonia. Around midnight, she called her mother saying she felt unwell. Later, around 1:30 a.m., she called a friend, mentioning that someone was coming to take her to the hospital. 2 days after Jamie's disappearance, a utility worker found her cell phone approximately 3 miles from her home. A native of Gaston County, North Carolina, Jamie Fraley struggled throughout her childhood with anxiety and bipolar disorder. By the late 2000s, she had managed these conditions with medication and had started attending Gaston College. Her family said she planned a career as a substance abuse counselor. In 2006, Jamie began dating Simonds Sr. Her family said she loved him deeply, and they eventually got engaged. However, Simonds had a criminal history, and after multiple arrests for minor offenses, he was sentenced to 15 months in prison in early 2007 for theft. Jamie continued to visit and communicate with him while he was incarcerated. On April 7, 2008, Jamie fell ill with gastroenteritis. Her illness was so severe that she sought medical attention twice at a local hospital that day. Without a driver's license, she relied on social workers, friends, and family to drive her to and from the hospital. After her first trip to the hospital, one of Jamie's friends stopped by, retrieved her dog that Jamie had been looking after, and left to pick up Jamie's prescription at a nearby pharmacy. She returned later. Simonds Sr., the father of Jamie's incarcerated fiancé, who lived in the same complex and worked as a maintenance man there, drove her back to the hospital, and another neighbor brought her home. Around midnight, Jamie decided she was feeling worse and needed to return to the hospital. She called her mother to inform her of her plans. At 1:30 a.m. on April 8th, she called a friend in Albemarle. During the call, she mentioned she was heading back to the hospital. The call ended when Jamie saw her ride arrive. She told her friend he was there. Jamie never made it to the hospital for a third time. After that call, no one saw or heard from her again. The next day, after Jamie Fraley missed an important appointment, her family went to her apartment on Lowell-Bethesda Road to check on her. They didn't find her there. The door was locked. Inside, they found her wallet, purse, keys, and ID, but her cell phone was missing. Nothing else appeared to be gone, and there were no signs of struggle, so they assumed she had left voluntarily. Unable to locate Jamie, they called the police to report her missing. The Gaston County Police launched an extensive investigation involving all their investigators with 3 detectives dedicated full-time to the case, and they sought assistance from the State Bureau of Investigation and the FBI. "I've never seen a missing person case receive such thorough attention," said lead detective Christy Roney. 2 days after Jamie's disappearance, utility workers found her cell phone at an intersection about 1 mile from her apartment. By the time the phone was handed over to the police, too many people had handled it to recover any useful evidence, like fingerprints. Reviewing the call logs, police discovered that there were several calls made at 4:30 a.m., but they turned out to be from calls Jamie had made earlier, unrelated to her disappearance. A call to her phone was logged at 5 a.m., but they couldn't determine who had made it. Jamie's fiancé, Simonds Jr., was still in prison at the time of her disappearance, so investigators ruled him out as a suspect. Their focus quickly shifted to his father, Simonds Sr., who also had a criminal record, including 6 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter in the 1980s after he strangled his girlfriend. Simonds Sr. lived in the same complex as Jamie, only 2 apartments away, and worked there as a maintenance man. He had driven her to the hospital for the second time on the day she disappeared, making him one of the last people to see her. It was reported that he was obsessed with Jamie. He refused to take a lie detector test. However, 2 months after Jamie's disappearance, the investigation into Simonds Sr. came to an unexpected end with his death. On June 7th, his former girlfriend, Kim Springer, who had recently obtained a protective order against him, noticed a foul odor in her car. The smell didn't dissipate, and the next day, she opened the trunk. Inside, Springer found Simon's body. A police investigation revealed he had a set of keys to her car. Her purse had been stolen from the car a week earlier. His death was determined to be accidental, caused by heat stroke, as temperatures in the area had reached over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius, in the previous days. Police speculated that Simonds may have used keys to enter the trunk with the intention of ambushing Springer at some point, freeing himself using the emergency latch. However, when heat stroke set in, it's possible he panicked and forgot to use it, leaving him trapped in the trunk to die. After concluding the investigation into Simon's death, detectives informed the media that he remained a person of interest in Jamie Fraley's disappearance, which was still an open case. Both Fraley's family and Ricky Simonds Jr. believed that Simonds Sr. had taken crucial information about Jamie's fate to the grave. Her mother, Kim, who supplemented the official investigation with her own efforts, recalled crying upon hearing of his death. She claimed that Ricky Sr. was hiding something, and we could never get it out of him. Ricky Simonds Jr., who was released from prison by then, also believed that his father, whom he considered more of a friend, knew what happened to Jamie. He found the unusual chain of events overwhelming. First, my fiancé goes missing, then my father climbs into a trunk and dies, he asked a local news channel. In 2015, Jerry Case, who was then serving time in federal prison for kidnapping, made a possible confession regarding Fraley's disappearance. At the time, he was in prison. When he confessed, Case was facing trial for a 1985 murder in Gaston County, which he had admitted to in a 2012 letter to the Gaston Gazette. In 2015, he wrote another letter to the Gazette, confessing to Fraley's murder and another local woman's murder, in which the victim was shot in her home, later set on fire that same year. I guess you could say these are confessions number 2 and 3, he wrote. Prosecutors immediately dismissed Case's confession in Fraley's case as unlikely, as he had been incarcerated at the time she disappeared, though he was released a few weeks later, and he provided only case details that were already public knowledge. They also disregarded his improbable confession in the later murder of the other local woman, though he had been free when that murder occurred. As of 2024, Jamie Fraley's disappearance remains an open case with no new evidence. And that concludes our coverage of this tragic story. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on cases like these. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to share this video with your friends and give it a thumbs up if you found it valuable. Thank you for watching.